Hey Boo, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you're here. And if the prospect, the idea, the hint of persisting in your state, in your mindset around manifesting is giving you some anxiety or even some cringe, this video is for you. And pull up your chair, grab your beverage, get comfy and hang in with me here to the end. And we're going to take a deeper look at how the process of manifesting, how the knowing that you have your desire is a slam dunk. And this radically removes the sense of time frame from it. The idea of it should be here by then, it taking too long, why is it not happening? Because you're going to be looking not out there, it's the U-turn, the Y-O-U-turn. And I'm really kind of doing a little spoiler here because this is the goal. And this is really what I talk about in pretty much all of my content at some point. All of my videos really focus you back toward that I'm simply guiding you back. And by the way, if you want a deep personalized session around that, go to the link in my channel description to schedule a private one-on-one with me. And you're looking for the link that says 1minutemanifesting.com/services. So you have to be thinking in terms of looking at why you're not comfortable and you're pushing it away. And to name that, what happens when you're pushing away, you're procrastinating. And maybe procrastinating is something that has been going on for you for a very long time. Maybe it's arisen just in relation to your desires. Maybe it's not an all the time thing. I had a lot of procrastination issues for many, many years, and I don't anymore. If something has to get done, it gets done. Because I used to feel something had to be perfect in order for it to happen for me, through me, especially in the early part of my career as a writer. And this goes back quite a few moons, but I was going through that, and I would get writing assignments, and this and that. At that time, it wasn't online. It was for actual physical publications. And then I would want to get extensions on my deadline. Whereas my partner, later my husband, my late husband, he was very deadline oriented. I mean, I worked in deadline oriented spheres of corporate and independent, but he himself worked in communications industry. He worked in the advertising marketing industry, and there's a lot of deadlines there that come up sometimes very suddenly. And he would often say to me, this is the land of the quick and the dead. If you're not quick, you're dead. And I know what that means, and I have felt that and died 1,000 deaths many times over and over. And maybe that's affected you too. Maybe you're going, yeah, I know, I've been there and I can't seem to get it done and it has to be perfect. And I just had this really tough sense of it's got to be word perfect, and I have to start at the beginning. And later I had this kind of epiphany. It didn't matter. The thing was just to start. I could start at the fourth paragraph on the second, what would be the second page. It didn't matter. I could start anywhere in the storyline that I was assigned to write about, and it was fine because I'm writing that old draft. You know, the old poopy draft, as they used to call it. And they use the other word, but I'm just saying poopy. And, just throw it all in there, the kitchen sink, and then go back and edit. Okay? Then go back after you get the whole draft in. It doesn't have to be in the right order. It doesn't have to be in the smooth storyline that you want. No, I would just I used to wait for inspiration to strike, but no, it didn't matter. I could get the inspiration later and get other ideas later, and that was fine. So the thing was to embody the state of it's done. It's done. And it's so much the same. I'm using this as an example. Maybe some of you who are also in the who do write a lot of content, or who write their blogs or whatever, you may find that has happened to you. But this is not exclusively for writers. I'm saying this for anybody who has this feeling of everything's got to be perfect, and everything, in order for this to manifest, it's going to be perfect. There's no question. Whatever form it comes in, it may not necessarily come in exactly the form that you want, but it's going to come in a way that's going to be right. And part of why we pull back, whether it's perfectionism, whether it's procrastination, because as you can see, they're really the same. They're just two sides of a coin. And all that's happening is that it's more the feeling, what's really going on underneath all that is a feeling of trying to protect yourself from a kind of stage fright, from a kind of butterflies in the stomach, from a kind of cold feet around actually doing it. You want it, but at the same time, all kinds of other delays and situations, you're manifesting all the things that are getting in the way. So you're really getting in your own way. And I know it may sound harsh, may sound tough, but that's you're just creating a big pile of crap. You're just creating a big obstacle for yourself. And it's not until we can let go of that idea and just let things roll. It's trusting. It's letting God get behind you and move through you for your desire to actually arrive. Because the more, consider, the more you want to hold back somehow means that more than you may admit, you're scared of the actual outcome showing up. Now, that can come from a lot of reasons, because what happens is, whether it's big things and sometimes even smaller things, whether it's the happiness with a partner, the SP thing, or the level of health that you want, whether it's the money piece, that you, on a level just below the surface here, are feeling that you're not worthy of having it, or feeling that actually having it, despite what your mouth is saying and despite what you're trying to visualize and put on your vision board or affirming about, the mouth is moving, the thoughts are coming through, but at the same time, your sense of actually being worthy of it, of being strong enough to handle it, or the fear of becoming disconnected from people you love, from dear friends, that it's going to take you away from them, because it's something that, in a sense, there's so much attachment that there's no concept of how can things expand, and that it might even improve the relationships that you treasure or that you're afraid to lose. And there's a difference. There is a shade of difference, because sometimes we've been keeping ourselves small just to sustain the relationship. Can't do that. Once you get that desire, I used to do that. I was so busy shrinking and trying to hold myself down because I was so afraid I'd lose this person or that partner or whatever. And it's something that eventually you say, stop that. Because if somebody loves you that much, they're going to be along for the ride. If somebody supports you from a buddy sense, they'll be along for the ride in one way or the other. They'll still be there for you. Anybody who falls away, they're meant to fall away. They're just going to, it's okay. And we begin to learn to allow that. As the Buddhists say, they have a wonderful saying, what comes, comes, what goes, goes. And this is it's in Buddhism, it's in other aspects of Eastern philosophy. And it's basically an understanding that everything in this world, in this illusion, if you want to say, or in the matrix, it's transient. It's simply transient. It's all about what's called impermanence. And if that is meant to be the case, and that friendship or that relationship is meant to dissolve, it's just impermanence. It's being okay with that and forgiving yourself. And above all, what ends up happening is you have to forgive yourself, because you may be judging yourself for even bringing this wonderful new desire into your life. What'd I do? Oh my God, what am I doing? What have I done? You've stepped into the driver's seat. You're stepped into the operant power. That's what you've done. It's a fantastic thing. It's really owning that command center, That's fantastic because you spoke it, God heard you, and God moved through you. That's why it said, my desires are God's desires. And yes, because we know that desire, the Latin root is, it might be Greek, but the root is of the Father. So that really, it's brought into your frequency by God, and it really does ask you to level up, to raise that frequency, and to fully feel it. So that's kind of the responsibility that the accountability is, I feel it, and it's mine. And it's establishing that. You're establishing that base. It's mine. The stake goes into the ground. It's mine. And that's really where you're playing from. Because otherwise, the more you're caught up in worrying and anxiousing and everything else and about having it and struggling, it's like as you're trying so hard to keep your head above water with it, then the greater the undertow is likely to pull you down into the murky waters, But even here, Neville Goddard said that really to become a master of manifesting is to step out of the shallows and into the deep waters of life. He said into the deep of life, but step out of the shallow waters and into the depths. Really get out in it. And you don't have to dog paddle to keep yourself afloat. It's to relax and just, merrily row your boat. It's just okay. Gently down the stream. Everything is easy. This is the meaning of the whole experience, is that it's easy. So you're looking at the possibility. I know it's very difficult when you're a card-carrying procrastinator and perfectionist, those two things bundled together. I mean, it takes a lot to have to, I understand. Because, like I said right at the beginning, that was me a long, long time. And even now, sometimes I still have to watch that, where that's showing up. There's something going on for me now, and I'm kind of wanting to push it. And because I know it's very powerful, and it's going to take me into a much bigger playing field. And of course, it's natural to feel that resistance, the fear. How's it going to happen? Get caught up in all the hows. So when that starts happening, is, because it's such a drain on your emotions and can really spin you around, is to just just dig your feet in, if possible, get out where it's a natural setting, where there's no distraction, where you can unplug. And that is also important, is to unplug. Because when your head looks like the emoji with one eye up here and the other one, the face is going all over, and the glasses are like whatever, you know what that feels like. And they wouldn't have an emoji like that if we didn't experience this stuff. Where do you think that those ideas come from? And it's really releasing into that. Now, if you want some serious leveling up coaching, I have a 3-month package designed for that. And you can find that in oneminutemanifesting.com/services. It's right there under bundles. And yes, it's me guiding you and supporting you and facilitating your moving through the rough spots. And that's what that's about. And if you want to know more about it, you can set up a short call with me. Easy peasy. Just schedule it. You can DM me about it. You can send me a DM, and we'll set something up. So I just so know how the damage that procrastination and perfectionism can have. Because a lot of times what we don't realize is how we're keeping ourselves locked in place and kind of even settling for things rather than being open to real abundance, being open to what comes unexpectedly, being open to the surprises, being open to letting go, which is also called surrender in the best possible way. It's giving up. It's kind of a combination of, okay, I can't run anymore, I can't hide anymore, so I give up. But in the giving up this way, you're giving up to God to grab you and say, listen, just let go of it. Don't even think about it. You're gonna get what you really wanted. And that is another way, actually, sometimes it's that whole collapse of everything. That's a breakdown preceding a breakthrough. So you don't have to drive yourself crazy chasing around after things. You just can be and trust. Because that trusting is a large part of your leveling up. The faith you're having, whether it's involving a person or a job that you want or some other step you're taking towards something, but you find it's difficult to maintain the attitude around it. I totally get that. I totally get that, because when you can release that, it's going to get you off the overthinking bus. Well, in a sense, you're going to change places. You're going to be the one that's being really, like, even chauffeured. God is the chauffeur. I could say you're driving, but in a larger spectrum, God is the one driving, and you can just go, hey, I'm here, take me there. And that's basically what you're saying. But if stuff is coming up that makes you want to pull back, you have to look at where is the fear, where is you even go deeper. You can look at what is the original trauma around it. But you, at some point, and these things can be very rough, I get it, but if all you're saying is I'd love to have this, but it's okay. But you want to be able to act from the version of yourself who already knows it's done. And some coaches will say, oh, it's not about just knowing, or intuition is bad, or this is bad, or that is bad. It's none of that. It's simply, I believe it. And sometimes, you have to convince yourself to believe it. You may have moments where you're feeling not so sure, and that's okay. You're gonna be okay with it, because everything moves on. You can sit and breathe into your own fear, and guess what will happen? Or breathe into that doubt, and lo and behold, that thing disappears. Why? Because as you breathe and get quiet, and you don't have to try to force your mind to shut. It's let go of that idea. Just noticing. You're just noticing. Are all the thoughts flying out of the box? Is anxiety showing up? Do you want to do the anxiety dance? Like, what's going on here? And really, what you're starting to notice about yourself is that the more you just sit, that you and it are sitting together, that the steam can actually run out of your anxiety, because the mind is funny. One of the things I've learned in my over 30 years of studying meditation and consciousness in the mind, is the mind, it doesn't like to be looked at. It doesn't like you to look at your own self mind. It doesn't like it. It kind of gets embarrassed, or it kind of wants, oh, I had that thought. Not in a judging way, like, oh, that's a bad thought, but more like if you're wanting to really be aware of the main direction that your thoughts are always going in, the kinds of thoughts you're always churning out, or how you're talking to yourself. If you stop and actually look at it, it has all the energy is going to go out of it. And you'll have a wonderful command of being able to completely shift into something far more desirable for yourself. So this is also key. You're going to have so many discoveries by simply stopping and noticing, because that's how the mind is. The mind automatically has a kind of funny way about it in the first place. It just is going to go and go, hey, I just had this great thought, and then it's going to go, oh, wait a minute, maybe that may not work. It's a constant process of the energy turning into thinking a thought, and then backtracking on itself. Thinking, backtracking, thinking back, and it's this kind of seesaw, and that gets really, this is why we get frustrated, because we don't land on anything. You know what I mean. I know you know, because, if you've watched with me this far, you know. If you know, you know. And but it's okay. And then you can step back. And you notice I'm saying it's okay a lot, because it really is. You have to be forgiving with yourself. Otherwise, you can't make any changes. If you're holding things against yourself, a house divided against itself cannot stand. That's it. So you have to understand that your manifestations are not going to wait on a perfect version of you to have them, think them, inhabit them, imagine them, or any of that. They're just, waiting for your permission, literally, to say, go ahead, get moving. It's okay. And you're giving them freedom. You're liberating your own desires. Now think about that. What a cool thing is that? You can liberate your desires, and you give them that freedom, and your world will change. It has to change automatically. As long as, two-way street here, long as you can also stop being afraid of what happens, even a little bit less afraid than you were, when your world does change, so you don't have to put the brakes on or manifest something, cringy, like getting sick or an accident. And people do that. Because even as nasty as that is, secretly the mind, the ego, the nervous system feels safer, because now the whole pattern was interrupted, and it's a way of feeling protected in a odd kind of way. And so everything has to hang around. But your desires want you. They want your permissions. They want you to give them the pass. They want you to say, let's do it, And by the way, a while back, I published a book about letting go of trying to be in control, procrastinate, perfectionate, all that stuff. And I will put the link for that's on Amazon. It's a little ebook. It's a short read. And I will link it in the comments. And this is what that's about. And let that marinate. If you have questions, I'd love to know. Drop them in the comments below. And if there's anything else along these lines that you would like to see a video on from me, put that in the comments too. I can't wait to see. And thank you so much for being here with me, Boo. Love you so much. And I will see you in the next video.